Hey guys, so this week I wanted to discuss some of the different types of UM cases, or what's called uninsured or underinsured motorist cases here in Georgia. So let's start with uninsured motorist cases. This is the case where you're driving down the street, you're hit by another driver who flees the scene of the collision, or they don't have insurance in place to cover you for your bodily injuries and your property damage. In this scenario, the first thing we would have to do is check with your insurance to determine if you have what's called uninsured motorist coverage, which would apply and cover you and your bodily injuries in that situation. The next scenario would be called underinsured motorist coverage. And in that situation, you're driving down the street, you're hit by another driver who, let's say, has a minimum policy, which is $25,000 here in Georgia. But you have suffered very serious injuries with, let's say, $100,000 in medical expenses, and you're gonna also have some pain and suffering damages as well. We would check with your insurance company to see if you have the underinsured motorist coverage. And let's assume in this situation you have an additional $100,000 in underinsured motorist coverage. So together, the total coverage available to you for your injuries would be $125,000. And the last situation that I've seen come up in these UM cases is a case I'm handling now. My client was driving a vehicle that wasn't his own. He was driving a company vehicle. He was again hit by a hit and run driver, and his employer's coverage, his employer's UM coverage stepped in to cover his bodily injuries in that particular case. And typically, if you're driving an employer's vehicle, they're gonna have a very large policy. So like in this case, there was $1 million uninsured or underinsured motorist policy for that particular vehicle. And so it applies not only to when you are driving a vehicle that's not yours, but also if you're a passenger in a vehicle that has uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage. That can apply to you as well. So I always tell our clients to make sure you check with your agent to make sure that you have this coverage, the UM coverage. A lot of people will say, well, I have full coverage, and don't realize that that doesn't necessarily mean that you have uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage. You need to check, and you have to specifically select that to make sure that you have it. Otherwise, again, if you're hit by somebody and it's a hit and run accident and you're badly hurt and we find out you don't have that coverage, well then there is no compensation available to you to cover you for your injuries.